Wow. Okay. That is a life changer.
Your inner self, your higher self, your inner guidance, sixth sense, whatever you want to call it, we're all talking about the same thing. On this one, I actually agree with the scientists. So, sleep paralysis is actually not a psychic phenomena. When she took her last breath, I literally felt her spirit rise above the bed. Like I felt it in my body. And when I looked above the bed, I saw we're here on earth for a reason. And so the more we can do here to better ourselves and to help other people, and actually the more struggles we have here, the less times we have to come down. I do think I have a message from your spirit guides, so just give me a minute to tap in. We have four levels of healing, and so it's physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual.
I was just jotting that down so I'd remember it. I had a ringing in my ear.
Oh yeah.
Ah,
That's definitely one of the signs. Yeah, absolutely.
yes, they're here. How does someone know if they're psychic?
Let's take that even a step back. So the question I get asked all the time is everybody psychic? And the answer to that is yes. So we all have our five physical senses, but then we all have our sixth sense, which is our intuition, which is our psychic sense. So whenever you feel that intuition, that's actually you feeling your psychic ability. So yeah, we all have it. It's just a matter of, are you open minded? Are you willing to kind of take that leap of faith to realize these signs that you're getting? And a lot of people, like it varies, right? Because some people that are highly sensitive, they might realize that they're getting messages, but then other people might ignore them. So we all definitely have it. But I really consider the highly sensitive people. So, and when I say that, I mean people that can go into a room and feel people's energy, like their mood or their emotions. So, when people can feel that, or when someone can meditate, or even without meditation, if they can hear a message, see a vision, an image, a symbol, even maybe like smell a fragrance of a loved one that had passed away, these are all your psychic senses at play. So if you don't know what signs to look out for, you don't realize that you're having these psychic experiences. And so even if you think of someone that you haven't talked to in a long time and then they end up like calling you later that day or you end up running into them, that's a psychic ability. That's telepathy. Or maybe you have deja vu. That's a psychic sense. So if you don't know what signs to look out for, you don't realize that you're actually having a psychic ability or psychic sense.
Mhm. Okay, so this is something that happens to me all the time. How you mentioned walking in a room and feeling other people's energy. That is that also the same thing as feeling empathy or being an empath? Is that along the same lines? And also, what can you do with that? How can that be beneficial? Because to me, if I don't like it, if I don't like the feeling I'm getting, all I want to do is leave the room. But is there another way to go about that where you can kind of transmute it or change the energy in a positive way?
Yeah, definitely. So a lot of people use that word or that term empath, right? So I think we're kind of, as a society, misinterpreting it because a true empath would be like I slap somebody else across the face and you physically feel it on your face. That's a true empath. When you can just go into a room and feel their energy or their mood or their emotions, that means you're highly sensitive. So I think that the term gets a little bit messed up, but either way, if you are going into the room and you're feeling all those emotions, you know, you have to be able to turn it off because you can't 100% of the time be empathic, or else you start to not even know your own emotions or your own mood because you're feeling everybody else's. And that can really turn into like an emotional roller coaster, and also like not even knowing yourself very well because you are feeling everybody else's junk, let's say their feelings. So it's really important to protect yourself, and that's something I teach in my mentorship program, is how to protect your energy as an empath, because it's all about preventing that. So you don't want to go into that situation, gain all those emotions, and then go home feeling depleted, needing a nap or turning the lights off or wanting to be alone to recharge. Those are things that we're actually trying to prevent. So the easiest way to do that is to envision that there's a white bubble, like this clear bubble all around you. And the only way that this bubble will work is if you believe in it. It's just like believing in your psychic ability or believing in your intuition or basically believing in yourself. So if you don't believe that this bubble works, it won't be able to protect you. But yeah, if you can envision yourself in this bubble and nothing can penetrate it, like basically it's like a mirror. As soon as something hits it, it's going to reflect off of it. And if you can do that, then you're protecting your energy. And you need to do it if you're an empath or highly sensitive, you need to do it a lot. You need to do it like when you wake up in the morning, if you have bad dreams or maybe like spirits are visiting you that aren't very friendly in your dreams, you need to do it before you go to bed. You need to even do it like before you leave the house because even if you go to your mailbox, someone might be walking down the road and you're going to pick up on their emotions. So basically anytime you know that you're going to go in front of another person, you want to put that energy bubble around you. And like I said, you really need to believe that it's working. That's the only way it's going to work because the power is coming from within you and you have power over that. But if you don't know what to do, then it's very hard to take your power back.
You mentioned dreams, so I want to put a bookmark in there and definitely circle back to that in a moment. But before we get into that, how would somebody that's on the other end of the spectrum, how if they want to strengthen their abilities, how could somebody do that so that they're more in tune with their psychic abilities and can feel them more? And I guess could you also use the term intuition interchangeably with that if they want to be more in tune with their intuition?
Yeah, so the word psychic ability, intuition, psychic sense, your inner self, your higher self, your inner guidance, sixth sense, whatever you want to call it, we're all talking about the same thing. It's all intuition, it's all your psychic ability. Now, a lot of people, like, let's say myself, like when I first started, I was reading a ton of books, and the books weren't really doing anything because it was like for exercises. And I hated the book would be like, close your eyes, but then like you needed to read to do the exercise, right? So it was like, okay, now my eyes are closed. So I know myself, I read a ton of books. And then I took like these little 1 hour classes that, again, it was just like a few exercises and so I realized, I'm just learning like little pieces of the puzzle here. I don't have the whole puzzle. And that's why I actually created my mentorship program because once I found my mentor, someone that had already been through exactly what I'm going through, like lost, where do I start? I'm overwhelmed. There's so much terminology, there's so much to learn. And once she took me under her wing, I only worked with her maybe an hour a month for 6 months. And then my abilities just skyrocketed. And I realized that the books and these classes were really like over promising but under delivering. And so it was like trying to figure it all out on my own, like took years and I still wasn't able to do it. And then I only worked with her for 6 months and then she just taught me how to do it. So if you're doing it yourself, it's really hard because you have to take so many different classes and then you have to kind of put it all together on your own. So it's not an easy process. But even if it's like if they choose me as their mentor, great. But even if they don't choose me, I would really highly recommend a mentor because they know exactly what they did to get where they are. And so they can take you down that path. And my mentorship program, I really created that exact path of this is what you need to do in this order, protect your energy, learn how to connect with your spirit guides, learn how to trust your intuition, and just so much more, just so that it's all in one place. And it sounds like it's a lot, but I only recommend that they work on it for like 10 to 30 minutes a day. Because imagine going to the gym and you haven't been there in like 5 years and you go for 3 hours, like you're going to be exhausted. You are not going to lose weight overnight. It's that same mentality of you're working out this muscle that's never been worked out before. So you don't want to overdo it and deplete your energy. And so you just want to do it in like little chunks every day. And then transformation might take 90 days. That's how long the program is. But your mindset can change within just like 24 hours. So it's like these little mindset changes can then build into your huge transformation at the end of the 90 days.
Okay, that's incredible. So that's for the people who want to either strengthen their abilities and or protect themselves if they're more empathic.
Exactly. And even
But
if they
the
don't
but
know,
not empathic, right? That's the wrong term.
that's okay. Or even if they don't know what they are, right? Like Like I have one client, she didn't realize she was a telepath, or I have another client that like didn't realize he was an angelic healer. So even if you're having these things happen to you, but you're like, what am I? That's what my program helps with as well. Like, let's figure out what you are, because you might have one or two abilities or more, but let's figure out what they are and then let's strengthen them. And so that you can really use this, because people might think it's, oh, like I'm just talking to spirits, or like myself, like, oh, I'm just talking to dead people. But really, you are going on this personal growth journey. You're actually living a more authentic life that helps you to get your life to live more like flow easier. You're cultivating this positive attitude. You're realizing that we're all connected. You're gaining this like connection to the universe. Like it's so much more bigger than just ourselves. And then when we can do that ripple effect of helping other people, it's just like an amazing journey to be on. And it's really just that personal journey of self-development and growth. So a lot of people think it's, woo woo, or, talking to spirits, but it's really just this spiritual journey of how can I be the best, most authentic person I can be to myself.
Oh, I could see how this would be extremely helpful. I've always wondered what my abilities are. I know I have them, and I will sometimes get confused between my intuition and my thoughts, like what's coming from my logical brain and what is an actual a bit something that's coming from a higher source that is trying to speak through me or direct me. And yeah, so being able to decipher and know, I guess you would be able to follow that a little easier once you do determine what your actual abilities are. So then you can sense whether that's from your mind and your ego or if that's from your higher self.
Yeah, exactly. And there's a really easy way. I say easy, but there's an easy way to know whether it's your rational mind or your intuition. And if you ask yourself a question, and let's say you want the answer to be from your intuition, that answer comes to you in 4 seconds. That's it. If you go to that fifth second, your mind is now answering. So it's that instantaneous, it's that quick. And so, you have to feel it, whether it's you see an image or a symbol, or you hear something, or you just feel something in your body. However, you're getting that message in that first 4 seconds, that's your intuition. And then by that fifth second, your rational mind is going to say, like, no, that's not right. No, you're crazy. There's no way you know that. Don't listen to your gut. So that's a really easy way. It's that instantaneous.
Wow. Okay. That is a life changer. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to remember that forever, and that will,
Good.
that will literally affect all of my decision making.
Awesome.
Okay.
That's what I like to
So,
hear.
yes, already giving all the value. So, when it comes to sleeping and dreaming, I would love to hear your perspective on sleep paralysis. I had my own little experience with that many years ago, but I could still remember it like it was yesterday because it was that vivid and yeah, I don't want to say scary, but it was definitely shook me up, I would say. So what happened there? And I imagine it's probably different for different people. I did a ton of research afterwards. It was like a week-long event for me anytime I would go to sleep. And so then what I found online, a lot of websites wanted to, look at it from a science perspective. And so I just wanted to make sense of it at the time and figure a way for it to stop. And eventually it did after about a week. And to this day, I still kind of wonder, like, what was that?
Yeah. So on this one, I actually agree with the scientists. So sleep paralysis is actually not a psychic phenomena, it's a psychological one. So even though it feels like maybe someone's sitting on you, or you can't breathe or whatever, you're thinking, is this a bad spirit? Is this something negative that has like control of me? But no, it's actually a psychological issue. It's not something that's psychic. So that's really all I know about it, is that it's not a psychic phenomena. And so I'm glad you did the research. I'm glad that you were able to stop it. But yeah, I get that question a lot. And that's really like my only answer for it is a lot of people confuse it with psychic, but it's actually psychological.
I would love to hear about your own personal psychic journey. How did you come to find out about your own abilities? And yeah, what was that like for you?
Sure. So I was very young. I was probably like 10 or 12 when I was like, wait a minute, I'm hearing things more than other people are. And I'm clairaudient, which means that I hear the spirits more than anything else, like more than seeing them or feeling them or anything like that. So at a very young age, I was hearing voices, right? It's my voice, but it's not my thought. And so I would think like, wait a minute, I didn't just think that, but that was my voice. So I really thought I was going crazy. And I was like, I'm not telling anyone about this. They're gonna like think I'm crazy or they're gonna think I'm making things up. Like I just ignored it. And it was also a little bit of guilt because I knew this if this message is not my own, this must be coming from somewhere and this message is for someone. But like who's it for? And how do I give it to someone? And I just didn't know what to do with it. So it came with a lot of guilt, and then it also came with some fear because it was like, is someone controlling my mind? Like I just didn't understand it. And so I ignored it and I just, went on with my life until I was in my 20s and my grandma was passing away and my family and I were in her hospice room and we were all like, around her bed holding hands, everyone's crying. And when she took her last breath, I literally felt her spirit rise above the bed. Like I felt it in my body. And when I looked above the bed, I saw the most like amazing colors. Like I don't even think they're in this world. And they were forming a star and it was like beating in and out like a heartbeat. And in that moment, like I just knew without knowing how I knew, I just knew that her angels were there. I knew she was going on to this like amazing new place in the world. I knew that she was at peace, that she was comforted. I knew that like her past loved ones were there to welcome her. And like all this was happening in like just a few seconds. It was so profound while everyone around me is like grieving and crying. So I actually left the room because it was like so powerful, and my cousin came out and she thought I couldn't handle how sad it was. And I couldn't tell her in that moment, like, oh my gosh, this is what I'm experiencing and it's amazing, because they're all very sad and grieving. And it took me years to even tell them, like, what had happened because you just never know, like, what someone's belief system is or, if they are going to think I'm crazy. So, but now that like I said, after that, I then started reading the books and watching podcasts and listening to or like doing the YouTube videos, all these classes until I found the mentor, and then that's what really got it going. But once I did tell my family, this is what I experienced when grandma passed. Nobody was surprised. They apparently my whole mom's side has psychic abilities. My mom, my sister, aunts, uncles, cousins, just nobody has ever talked about it. And I was just like, here I was at age 10 thinking I'm crazy. Someone could have just said something. And, so it's just like, it's so sad to me that nobody talks about it. And now I'm like, I just want to be like the spokesperson. So that way, if someone out there is like, I have no one to talk to, like, you're not alone. Like, it's just probably people aren't talking about it because it's so taboo in our society. But yeah, that was basically it. And then I went on to do mediumship readings. I did those for several years. And then I was like, you know what? I want to create more people that can do this. So that's why I decided to do the mentorship program so that people have that like-minded community so that they can learn how to do their own ability and then go on to help the world. So that's like my mission in life now is to like create all these light workers so that we can go out and help other people.
How was that like as far as being 10 years old and witnessing something like that and how you view death and life?
Oh, so sorry. So I was like around 20 when that happened. It
Oh,
wasn't when I
okay.
was 10, but it was when I was a little bit older. But yeah, it totally transformed my view of death. Like my uncle just passed away like a few weeks ago, and I was so happy for him.
Sorry.
Like my husband came home, and I'm like, he passed away, and he's like, something's wrong with you, and I'm like, no, I think something's wrong with everybody else. Like
Mm.
I was so happy for him. So I really haven't cried at a funeral since then, and especially because I am a medium. So all mediums are psychic, but not all psychics are mediums. So a medium is someone that can talk to dead people, right? So I can talk to my grandma or my aunt and uncle that passed away anytime that I want. They're still in my life, just in a different way. And when I can do those readings for people so that they can then have another conversation with their deceased loved ones, it really shows that, I mean, they are still here with us. It's just energy, and energy transforms. It doesn't ever go away. So yeah, it's just like a whole nother way of like I have no fear of death. And honestly, some days I'm like, I think death would be easier than this life. It's just crazy how much it changes the way you think of things. And I feel really blessed to have that. I'm sure like when my own parents pass away, it'll be much harder, right? Because they're much closer to me and I'll miss them. So I'm sure I will, be sad at that. But like I don't know, it's just like, and I'll still know in the back of my mind I can still talk to them, and I know I'll still see them again. And it's not like a belief for me. It's a knowing. It's a lot different whenever it's believing something versus like I literally do this every day. And so I just know it. And so it's a lot different whenever you know it versus like believing. And a skeptic could tell me right now I'm crazy, but like I would look at them like you're crazy. Like you don't know what you're talking about.
Regarding psychic intuition, how do you navigate skepticism?
So skeptics love science, right? That's their big thing. So I always tell them that there is no science on subjective experience. So there might be, unconsciousness, there might be science about the brain, but nothing can prove what someone is experiencing subjectively. So I always say like if someone's on a roller coaster and they're screaming, you don't know by looking at them if they are like, get me off this thing right now. I hate it, or oh my gosh, I love the thrill of this. I'm gonna get in line again and go on this again. So there's not nobody can tell me what I'm experiencing, just like I can't tell someone else what they're experiencing. And there's no science to back any of that up. So like when they tell me I'm not experiencing something, like dude, like I go through this every day. Like it's just 100% real to me. So they can believe it or not. But yeah, when it's 100% real, like there's nothing they can say that's gonna change that. It's just like them, yeah, whatever.
Right, right. And if they can't see it, or if they can't wrap their head around it, then it's not for them, I feel like
Yeah.
with anything else in life, that's why there's so many different types of religions and beliefs, and we can't not all of us resonate with all of them because they're just for different people at different times. And even myself in this one lifetime, I see my beliefs changing. I was just having a really great conversation with a friend yesterday about how our diets have changed, our beliefs have evolved, like who we are as a person. We don't even recognize old versions of ourselves. So it's like we can change and evolve. And the only thing we really know for sure in this moment is that we will change. So it's so impossible to say things for 100% definite in this moment. A lot of the skeptics, I feel like they'll end up having their own experience, especially because they are skeptics. So they're almost calling it in to know whether it's true or not. And then once they have that experience, then they'll be able to, reflect on that, and then they'll second guess everything else they've ever been skeptical of.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm really glad you brought that up about religion because I get that a lot. Like, oh, I think it's against my religion to develop my psychic abilities. And so I
Mm,
think there's a misconception out there. Like, religion and spirituality are two different types of thought. Religion is you're getting together with this group of people to worship, a god or whatever you want to call them. Whereas spirituality and psychic abilities is going on your personal journey. It's this one person's journey. It's not a group, and it's all about that personal growth, that self-discovery, development, and growth. So it's actually you can be spiritual and religious. You can be religious but not spiritual, spiritual but not religious. It's just like they're two different things, and the end goal is always the same though, to be a better person, to help other people, to help, the planet. So it's like you're just getting there in two different ways, but you can do it together or separately. So it's not like it's against religion because it's a whole different thought, like a whole different way of thinking. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I used to think that religion fit inside spirituality. And like if spirituality were a fishbowl and the fish is inside the fishbowl, you could put the fishbowl inside of the ocean, and the spirituality is the ocean. So, but now with time and with, my mind is just learning all these different things, and it's like I see it as its own thing. Like they might bleed into each other. I think a lot of the different beliefs are saying the same things, but they're using different terms and different words,
Hmm.
and different things represent something that's someone else is talking about in a different belief. But I think essentially we all pretty much believe the same things when we boil it down.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And that's in religion, right? Because spirituality is not really a belief in something, unless it's just, if you want to look at it as believing in yourself. That's really all that it is. It's not believing in a god or anything like that. It's just like believing in yourself and what can I do best in this world.
Mm. So do you believe that we are all one and that we are all incarnated as billions of different versions of our one self?
No. I believe we're all connected through consciousness and through energy. But I don't believe that we're all one big thing, I guess. We're all connected. How can I describe this? So, like, if you were to have like links, right, like in a necklace, so like, yes, they're all connected into one, but you can still take apart those links. And so we're still like, we're just connected. We're not like all one big thing. If that makes sense.
Yes. So do you believe in reincarnation?
Yes, absolutely.
And okay, so people who believe in reincarnation, I've heard some people believe that we've had, like maybe a dozen lives, and other people think we've had thousands and thousands of lives. What does your belief look like?
So it's different for everyone because once we go to the spirit world, we can be there for as long as we want before we decide to come back down to have another human experience. So if someone's up there and there's no time or space up there, but let's just say like 5 minutes for us, they could be like, nope, I'm ready to go again. And so they probably did live thousands of lives. But somebody else could be like, you know what, I'm just going to chill up here for a while. And maybe it's like 100 years goes past in our time, 100 years, then maybe they only had like 12 lives. So I think it is different for everyone, but it's important to know that we're here on earth for a reason. And so the more we can do here to better ourselves and to help other people, and actually the more struggles we have here, the less times we have to come down. So it's a lot of people are like, oh, I struggle so hard in my life. And not that I envy them for their struggles, but I'm thinking in the back of my mind, like, well, you'll have to come less. So it's actually like kind of a good thing, I guess, because if you do struggle more, the less you have to come down to struggle again. So like I feel like I've had a pretty easy life and I'm like, oh, it's a waste of a lifetime. Now, of course, who knows what the future will bring. I probably shouldn't say that. But I feel like, I have learned a lot, but like I haven't really had much struggle. So it's like, oh geez, I'm probably just have to come right back down again.
Oh boy, I feel like I've had loads of struggle, but I feel like it's also so relative. I mean,
Yeah.
the spectrum is, I have not been kidnapped, abducted as a child, or, you know, torturous things that I don't even want to
Mhm.
voice on here. But we only know our own pain, right? I mean, it's hard to really compare.
Yeah. And it's all your perception. So maybe someone else would say, no, you really did have a hard life. And maybe it's just the way I'm looking at it. Like I'm usually thinking of like people that are like in wheelchairs or disabled or something like
Mm.
that. I guess that's who I'm comparing myself with, that I feel like they've had a struggle. But then you could talk to them and they're like, no, this is great. Like, so you just, yeah, you never know.
Right, right. It's completely perspective. And also, do you feel like we choose our life before we live it? Like we wanted, if we are in a wheelchair, we wanted to have that experience?
Yes, I believe it's two different things. So karma could put you there because if you do a lot of bad things in your previous life or lives, then karma can make things happen to you. Or it could be a matter of choosing again because you're like, you know what, I would rather just have this hard life so I don't have to come down as many times. So I think it's two different things there.
Okay, yes. Switching gears a little bit, could you elaborate on the concept of discovering one's higher purpose through psychic intuition?
Yeah. So once you can totally believe in yourself, stop second guessing, you can tune into that intuition into those 4 seconds, you start to live a more authentic life. So instead of living how society wants you to live, maybe they say, oh, you have to have the corporate job and you have to have a baby and all that, and you really start to live how you deep down want to live, then you start to find stuff out about yourself that you didn't even know was there. So maybe there's a passion deep down that you've been suppressing because of how you kind of been putting this like facade on for society. But once you can open that up, you might have something down deep down that you didn't even know, that like this is my passion, and so you discover your purpose. Or like myself, like I didn't know I could talk to dead people. I was just suppressing it, ignoring it. And now I can do these beautiful readings for people of comfort and healing when they're grieving. And so I feel like that's my purpose now, is to help people, heal. So even though everyone's going to be on their own journey and their higher purpose will differ, you'll be able to find it also because you'll be able to tap into your spirit guides. And your spirit guides know why you're here. And so they're going to also lead you through your intuition, through their guidance to get you to where you need to be. And that is your higher purpose. So it's almost like, well, I shouldn't say it's almost, it is like you have this team of spirits on the other side that are here to help. But if you don't know how to tap into their help or tap into their guidance or talk to them, then you're not getting their guidance whenever you could just easily tap it, not easily, but you can tap in and then they can guide you to your higher purpose. So it's a couple of things there: your intuition, the self growth journey, and your spirit guides can all lead you to that higher purpose.
I probably
Amazing.
talk to my spirit guides almost every single day.
That's awesome.
And I feel like we have to ask them though, right? Like they're there and they're ready, but they cannot help us unless we actually say, "Hey, spirit guides." And I literally will talk to them like that, like they're just a
Yes,
person.
we do.
Yeah. And so it's like I'll just ask them a question or just ask them to please direct me or please help me do this or show up this way. And
Change that a little bit for you. Instead of saying the word please, and you could change that to the words thank you, because you're thanking them before they do it, because it's showing your faith in them that they're going to give you it. So you're actually going to thank them before it even happens. And then when it does happen, then you show your appreciation again and say thank you. But when you can say thank you for guiding me for XYZ, it's showing them, wow, she really truly believes in me. She knows I'm going to give this to her. She's already thanking me for doing this. And it just gives you that like relationship and that trust, a little bit of like extra oomph. And it really, even your mind will change a little bit. You almost won't feel as, because some people will feel bad asking them, right? Like I'm asking them something every day. And that's another part of it. Don't ever feel bad, because the more they help us, the higher they ascend in the spirit world. So even though they're helping us, we're helping them. So it's actually a two-way street. So you never have to feel bad about it, because you know ultimately that you're helping them ascend in the spirit world. So yeah, it's a two-way street of helping.
this was so neat. As I was just jotting that down so I'd remember it, I had a ringing in my ear.
Oh yeah.
Ah,
That's definitely one of the signs. Yeah, absolutely.
yes, they're here.
Yeah.
Okay. What role do self-care practices play in nurturing and honing psychic abilities?
So yeah, even if like someone were to join my mentorship program today, if they were like, I'm totally stressed out, I don't have any time for this, I don't have any money for this, like I would be like, now is not a good time, right? Because you do have to be in a place of accepting and learn, you want to learn it, and it, you just really need to be in a place of like stillness almost. And of course there's never like true stillness in our lives, right? Because they're very busy. But in terms of self-care, meditating is a huge one for me. And a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, I can't just sit there and meditate. My mind goes and whatever. So I like people to realize that meditation doesn't just mean sitting there with your legs crossed and listening to music. It can be anything. Anytime that you can be mindful about the activity that you're doing, anytime that you can turn off your stress, turn off your thoughts, that's a form of meditation. So it can be a shower, or you go to the spa, get your nails done, or it can be taking a jog or doing some drawing or playing an instrument. Anytime you can do that and you don't even realize that you're turning your thoughts off because you're so into that activity, that's a form of meditation. So I think when you can do that, even for like a half an hour a day, give yourself that reprieve from the fears and the incessant thoughts that we have every day. That's really the best self care. And then, of course, like the other ones, eat healthy, exercise, all the other stuff that people say, um, which I don't do. I like eat so bad. It's so bad. I like don't really work out. It's horrible. But you can still like, do whatever you need to get that like sense of peace every day, because you deserve it. Like you don't need to be busy all the time. Like you definitely, it's actually better for you if you can just give yourself that even half hour a day to yourself to just quiet everything. So that's my biggest advice.
What do you see as the future of psychic intuition and mediumship?
For society, There's already scientists that are working with mediums to see what goes on in their brains when they're able to connect with the other side. So it's already happening, and who knows when it will happen. But I definitely believe that at some point, maybe not in this lifetime, they'll be able to prove life after death. Absolutely. So there's a group called the Forever Family Foundation, and they're one of the examples of the groups of scientists that are working with the medium. So, and there's many others, but that's the one that like I always recommend because I really like that group. But yeah, it's already happening. It's just like if we can get more people to talk about this, it won't be as taboo. So that's why I'm really like want to be the spokesperson. Like I said, I want more people to come out of their like spiritual closet and let's talk about this because I guarantee that a lot more people are having these experiences than we even know because they're afraid to talk about it. So, and it's like once you go on this path of spirituality, that personal growth will get you to not care about what other people think, right? So you're not going to be afraid of people judging you. You're not going to be afraid of criticism or any of that. So when you can go on that personal growth and you start to release those fears, fear of judgment, fear of criticism, fear of failure, then it kind of goes hand in hand because then you'll start talking about it more and then more people will start talking about it. And yeah, so I definitely think it's awesome for the future. But if you look in the past, back in the 1800s in the Victorian era, this was so like accepted. So like what happened, right? Like in the 1800s to now, like it was so accepted and now it's not. So I don't know if it was like because famine and wars and all that happened. So I don't know if that like really brought down, like lowered the vibration of the planet because all that like physical negativity was happening. And so maybe now we need to like bring it back up. But it's crazy to me that like it was a really not taboo and they really believed in it and now we're back to like and then it kind of like went down. So I don't know. I don't understand that. We
Isn't
need to
that
go back
funny?
up again.
Right? History really does repeat itself. It's kind of that way with plant medicine as well. It was so popular and I mean, kind of mainstream, and then it became demonized and illegal, and then now it's coming back,
Yeah.
as long as it's regulated. But okay, so I don't know if you do any type of readings, but is there any, like, if you can you tell by just interacting with me, can you tell me anything about myself?
Sure. So I do think I have a message from your spirit guides. So just give me a minute to tap in.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Okay, so they're referencing the Wizard of Oz. And when I get that message, it means that you are looking for something externally that you have internally. So I don't know if that makes sense for you that you're looking for something, some kind of external validation. And they're saying, look within yourself. You don't need somebody on the outside to validate this for you. You actually have this within you. So they're really telling you to go inside of yourself instead of trying to get this validation outside. And I don't know if there's a like that fear I was talking about, like maybe a fear of judgment there. And they're just kind of like, whatever this is the best path for you. And so you really have to just, if someone doesn't believe in it, like kind of release them or they don't need to be a part of your path. Not meaning that you need to cut them out of your life, but maybe they just don't need to be a part of this process. Because I feel like there is one person or more that's kind of like making you doubt yourself, but they're basically saying like you don't need that. You know what's inside of you, and so they want you to dig deeper and look inside yourself and go with that versus external validation. Does that make sense?
That makes so much sense.
Great.
For sure. I have one last question for you that I ask everyone at the end, but before I do, where can people find more from you? Where can people join your mentorship?
Sure. So it's my website, brandivan.com, Brandivan. And I do have a free PDF on how to develop your intuition. So if they want to go to my website and sign up for that, they'll get that intuition PDF. But yeah, all the mentorship details are on there. I have a blog post, I have a lot of free resources, and then they can also follow me on Instagram and Facebook at Brandi Van Medium. And I also have a lot of free resources on there as well.
Amazing. And all of that is in the show notes, of course. And my final question is, what is your number one health tip? Whether it's mindset, diet, and nutrition, physical, emotional, just the one piece of advice you would like everyone to know.
We have 4 levels of healing. And so it's physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual. So whenever you can, even though you might like be like total workout person, if your emotions aren't aligned with who you are, you're going to have an imbalance. or if your thoughts aren't where your emotions or physicality are, you're going to have an imbalance. So even though a lot of people are like gung ho maybe on one or two of those things, you actually need to have all four of those to be healed, to actually be a balanced, more happy and joyful person. So I think that would be the biggest thing is, make sure you're looking out for those four aspects instead of just focusing on one or two. They're all combined, and you're going to be a more whole person if you look at all four of those and heal them all.
Brandy, I could literally talk to you about this all day long. If you enjoyed this episode and want to hear more from guests like Brandy, make sure you subscribe and check out the video next week. And Brandy, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.